Vice Chairman. Tonight we have Chief Yetman and Assistant Chief Patterson here for a couple of appointments to the fire department. We also have quite a few members of the department here to show their support. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them for everything they do for the town. I listen to the scanner in my office all day, and I see the situations that you guys deal with on a daily basis. You're dealing with some people that are having a very bad day with a medical issue or a fire. And I'm always amazed with your professionalism and compassion in dealing with our residents. So thank you for that. I think the board's going to be very pleased with two very strong candidates who we wish to appoint this evening. I'll turn it over to Chief Yetman and Assistant Chief Patterson to present the candidates to you.
Thank you. We have two candidates tonight. First gentleman is Austin Arsenault. Austin is a Burlington resident. He graduated from Shawshene Tech in Billerica. He's been an emergency medical technician since 2015. He received his paramedic certification last year. He's currently employed as a security supervisor at McLean Hospital, and he also works as a paramedic for Pride Star Ambulance. So I've recommended him to Paul and looking for your approval.
With the chief's recommendation, I hereby appoint Austin Arsenault to the position of full-time firefighter in the Burlington Fire Department and request that the Board of Selectmen waive the standard 15-day waiting period.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Moved by Jim, second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
4-0. Is he here?
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Welcome. Congratulations.
I'll pick on you later.
I know.
The second gentleman is Mitchell Cunningham. Mitchell is a Arlington resident, received his emergency medical technician certification in 2016. He worked as an EMT for Armstrong Ambulance for over 2 years until he received his paramedic certification last year, and he still works for Armstrong Ambulance as a paramedic. His dad is also in the audience, and his dad is a deputy chief of training in Cambridge Fire. So again, I've asked Mr. Sagarino to approve Mitchell Cunningham and bring him before you.
With the chief's recommendation, I hereby appoint Mitchell Cunningham to the position of full-time firefighter in the Burlington Fire Department and request that the Board of Selectmen waive the standard 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Joe to waive the waiting period. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. 5-0-0.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations.
We got some pictures now, Chief?
Yes. Congratulations. Awesome. If you want to hear Austin's family, absolutely.
Pick one.
We get one with the chief first, and then with his family. Sure. Ready? We can get Austin's family up there with him.
Hi, Steve. Chief, you there?
Whoa. All right, everyone looking at me? Awesome.
Hold on.
One. Perfect.
All right. Mitchell?
Thank you.
set? Boom. All right. Here we go. Excellent.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Chief, could we not clear the room just yet before we just wanted to add a couple things? These are always the fun things, so thank you, everybody. Thanks for the turnout. Awesome to see as usual. Two things quickly. Jimmy, you wanted to add a fire department item?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, Deputy Chief, recently on the Burlington Parents Facebook page, a woman mentioned how her son got injured at Wildwood Park, and the accolades and for the first responders, the fire department, the police department, was amazing to see how the residents responded to, you know, the mom posted about her boy being injured and how wonderful the firefighters were, the ambulance personnel, and they couldn't say enough about your department. So I just want to thank you on behalf of the residents. You guys must have done a great job because the people just could not stop talking about it.
Yeah, we do every day.
Yeah, we actually read that. It was sent to us over the weekend. When
I'm not
we
sure,
get-
I'm not sure who Gary is, but he's somebody's hero right now, so.
When we get something like this, it just reinforces our beliefs of, you know, the strength of our members.
I feel like go ahead. I feel like we could do that monthly. We could probably, if we tried hard enough, we could come up with a story. So thanks to you guys and thanks to your entire staff. The only other quick thing, did anybody else want to add anything? And I apologize, I didn't. I can't let this get by. She's probably going to kill me. But we have a rock star in the audience this evening. And she knows who she is. And she was our, I'm surprised that we didn't play loud music when she walked in, but our 2018 4th of July and our 2018 Outstanding Citizen is actually with us this evening, and we're glad that Dottie is here, so thank you. I know this is a family night tonight. We weren't going to let that go by. So thank you.
We just need the Journey song in the background.
Yeah, you need a walk-up song, Dottie, yeah.
That's the one.
Okay, that's a good one. So thank you for coming. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and thank you very much.
Thanks, gentlemen.
So, Paul, the next item looks like 54. This is, we got the background on this. This is this the first year we're doing something like this? This is a new event.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, Sergeant Cipolletti's here to talk about this one.
Excellent.
Sounds like they have a great event planned, and they're requesting the Selectmen's approval to use the common.
Excellent. How are you, sir?
I'm well, how are you?
Good, thank you. So you've got a fun event to talk about this evening.
We think so.
Okay.
Police Department's looking to use the town common on Saturday, June 8th. Our goal is to have a community policing event on the common. We're calling it Cops in Cars. We didn't come up with it. It's been held in other parts of the country, not too much here in Massachusetts. The idea is pretty simple. Police have been involved with cars for a long time in one form or another, whether we're in them or chasing them. And not that we chase too much anymore, but police work involves cars. And what we'd like to do is have a classic car show. I'm working on, with the approval after tonight, getting quite a few cars on the common, as well as old cruisers. I put some contacts out to get old cruisers, which typically you don't get to see too much anymore. So our goal is to have an event on the common where the chief has pledged to have officers out there to talk to the car owners, talk to the people that are coming to look at the cars, and just have a good day out on the common.
Anything, obviously, this flew through every administrative office or everybody that we checked. But anything you wanted to add, Paul? or-
Yes, I know Sergeant Chipoletti was planning on having some food trucks attend the event, and he didn't mention probably the most important part is that they're actually raising funds for people, helping people with this event, so
Thank you.
there's a really good end product, aside from having a great day on the Common. They want to donate the proceeds from having the cars come here to participate in the show to people helping people, so.
So the hits just keep on coming.
Thank
So I've gone vegan. Will there be some sort of a vegan?
Yeah, tacos, I love tacos.
There will be now.
Okay. So before I open it up to questions and comments, you mentioned you're either in them or you're chasing them, or speaking about you specifically, making them safe for kids, which I remember doing a long time ago. You actually went through mine and my wife's vehicles to make sure that the car seats were safe, and I think that's something that maybe has gone unmentioned for a long time. So thank you from me, and thank you for the hundreds, if not thousands, of other vehicles that you inspected over the years.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
We still run that program, so it continues.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So I'd love to offer anybody the opportunity to ask a question, or,
I have
yes, sir.
two things. I know what the times are, but mention it for the people watching it on TV.
Thank you. Our goal is to have the show open from 10 to 2. We're going to have the cars get there a little bit earlier, but 10 to 2, just to get through the morning and the early afternoon, and then let everybody go.
And just to follow up on Chris's comments about the car seats, not having used one for about 40 years when my grandson came, I felt like I needed an engineering degree to figure out how to put it in the back seat.
And remember,
Yes.
Other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Bernie, any rain date?
right now, we're looking at the next day. We haven't gone too far with that. Our goal is to pretty much make it happen that day, unless it's really,
The reason why I ask is, do we
Yeah.
need to approve the rain date as well, just to make sure?
Okay.
And I can honestly tell you, I've known Sergeant Scipiletti for decades, and his organization skills are beyond questionable, so I have
you.
full confidence in this event and having Bernie pull us off.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman, hey, Bern,
good job.
the job he's done over the years with the Common as far as the high school graduation with the parking and the traffic control and that, I'm sure that he has all the insides on every little place to put a car, where to put it, and how to administrate it in for this event. So I think that we couldn't have found a better officer to do this. Sergeant, I'm sorry, excuse me, I don't want to rock that boat, Sergeant Scipiletti. So I'm just happy. I think it's going to be a great event for you, Ray.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Do you want to jump right into a motion, Joe?
All right, I would like to make a motion to approve cops and cars on, what's the date?
Saturday, June.
Saturday, what's the date?
June 8th.
June 8th,
With a rain date of June 9th.
with a rain date of June 9th.
So motion from Joe, second from Jimmy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 500?
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck,
I
sir.
appreciate it. Thank you for mentioning
Thank you.
people, helping people. That's, all the money is getting donated to them. I've reached out to them. They're pretty happy. And just for the people at home, BurlingtonCopsandCars.com will be live tonight for people to register their cars and get some information. So thank you very much, gentlemen.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bern.
Thanks, Bernie.
Now, the ugly word, item 055, current water.
Should we do Leahy?
Yeah, well, yeah, so John's here, excellent. I didn't jump over that.
Three. We do the next three.
Okay.
Three, Sanchez.
Yeah. Yeah, Sanchez is the next three.
John, you're here for the next three, correct? Can we sneak in a short one? I apologize, before we do your three, do you mind? Now that you're settled and comfortable,
Please.
can we ask you to bug off for a minute while we sneak in one more quick one? I'm sorry. So we're going to take, thank you for that suggestion, that's a good one. We're going to take Leahy out of turn. Even though I noticed some exceptional joviality as I made my vegan crack from you two over there, so.
Well, we're going to have bananas
Okay.
at the 5K, so. I'm Christina Stanley. Thank you for having us back. This is my colleague Nancy Breton. We are grateful for the support that you all have given us, and I was here in the fall, and I am pleased to report that Burlington High School did approve the date for this year, which will be Saturday, June 22nd, for the 14th Annual Leahy Health 5K Cancer Walk and Run. We are going to do pretty much everything the exact same as we have for the last couple of years. It's the same course. We're going to be shuttling walkers and runners over from 25 Mall Road. DMZ, the Dave McGillivray Sports Enterprise, they're going to be our race directors again. They're working with us in terms of permitting and working with the police department. We expect 1,300 to 1,500 participants. The one thing that we are going to do different this year is that we're going to have a short program starting at 7:30 a.m. And in the past, we've done it right before the start of the race at 8, but this time we're going to start it at 7:30, and we're going to have it on the grassy field. For those of you who have been there before, we just feel like that would be a little bit a better way to engage everyone who's on the field at 7:30, and then the race, the walkers and the runners can line up, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and they'll start immediately. We found in the past that the real runners get a little antsy when they have to wait for the program, so we're going to try shifting that around just a little bit. And then I'm going to have Nancy give you the numbers that we have to date.
So I'm happy to report that our fundraising goal has increased to $500,000, up $100,000 from last year. We're off to a great, strong start. So far, we're just below $190,000. We're ahead by $89,000 from this time last year, so that's really exciting for us. In addition to that, we have 343 participants signed up, and we're ahead by 181 participants from this time last year. So, like I said, we're off to a banner year and really excited.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
We're pretty excited, and we would love, you all have sent a representative every year to be a part of the speaking program. I know it's a little early in the morning, and we're hoping for sun this year. The last 2 years, we've had a little bit of cloud and rain, so I know the sun's going to shine this year. But we would love to have one of you, or more, if you'd love to, we'd love to have all of you come, and we will have bananas and granola bars for the vegans in the house.
Let's start with one. And then, no, I'm sure, I think this is, generally, these guys are all good about that. I'm sure we can get at least one.
You can you all have my contact information, so you can let us know as we get
Yeah.
closer.
We'll make a note of that, and you have ours as well, so
Yeah.
I'm communicating to you, it's important to us to be there that day.
We love having you
So
there.
let's both work on making sure that one of us is there.
Can do that.
Okay.
Can I answer any questions or concerns you might have in terms of logistics?
If that may, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Christina, could you go back over the dates and the times again,
Oh.
just to have?
Of course, it's Saturday, June 22nd, and the race itself will start at 8 a.m. in the morning. The short program will begin at 7:30 a.m., just before that. And it is a 5K, so we, pretty much everyone's gone by 9:15, 9:30. We do have an awards program about 9 o'clock for the top runners.
Do I remember correctly that last year, the folks who were the lead runners were actually coming back across the finish line while we were still standing there when the last walkers were going over?
It does somehow work that way. We, actually, last year, the top female runner set a new course record. It was the fastest time for a woman. And they do, it always amazes me how quickly they come in. But yeah, they do come in pretty
They do
quickly.
move fast, yes.
Yeah, I think.
But it is an accredited course, I mean, it is certified course, so they really do run the full 5K.
Oh, it's a legitimate race.
It's a legitimate, we did have it accredited, so it's a legitimate 5K course. But you are correct, they come in really quick.
Any other questions, comments? Yes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just off topic just a little bit. Certainly Leahy Hospital, their new brand now. I want to congratulate you on your recent approval with your merger.
The merger, yes, thank you.
Very exciting for you and for us as well. We're very proud to have the fact that Leahy Hospital calls Burlington home, and you've been a wonderful neighbor. And good luck on your road race.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're very excited. And we hope to come back in the fall afterwards, and we can report back on how we exceeded goal and set more course records.
Super.
Again, a follow-up, if I might
Yeah.
say. You've already been in touch with the police and fire or anybody?
Yes,
You have all
Dimsey-
that contact info?
We've all got all that rolling forward, yes. Yep.
Mike and Bob made great points. Mike, what you mentioned about Leahy and what Bob just reminded me is that 3 of us have been guests over at Leahy since we last saw you. So we all appreciate very much what you guys do. And I know this has, your fundraising here has a specific target, but we're all proud that
Oh, well, thank you.
you guys are an institution in town, and we appreciate it. So unless there are any other questions or comments? No?
If I might, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that
Sure.
we approve the Leahy Health Annual 5K Cancer Walk and Run for June 22nd, the race beginning at 8 and the program at 7?
7:30.
7:30.
So motion by Bob.
Second.
Second from Joe. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
500.
See you in 20 seconds.
So let's stay in touch
We'll be in
about
touch,
which
yes.
one of us will be there. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Julie, this is a repeat event, I think, for you, so why don't we try to crank you out of here as well before we, I don't want to have Tom waiting on whatever you've got ready for supper this evening. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So you've been here before.
Yes, I'm actually here to present a 5K race as well. The Burlington Education Foundation Annual Road Race, it's our 15th race this year. We will be running this year hopefully on May the 19th. That's what we've worked out so far, gotten it approved from the Burlington schools. Same setup as in years past. The start and stop of the race is at the Burlington High School cafeteria. The fun run is at 9 o'clock. That's a start, and they do 1 lap around the high school building, and then the 5K starts at 9:30. And just like the previous race, Leahy race, it's over quickly. So by 10:30, 11 o'clock, we're wrapping things up, putting things away, and awards have been given at that point too. A little bit smaller scale. For us, we have about 400 runners and, an extra 100 volunteers and 100 spectators, so a little bit smaller scale than the Leahy run, but we still have police details there. We have 3 officers that are all lined up to come. Lieutenant McDade has supplied those, confirmed those for us. Same course route, which is I think Betty has that as well, so I can pass that along if you need to know the course route. But nothing has changed since years past, so we're looking to just do it one more time.
And the Burlington Education Foundation does what, Julie?
Yes, so we are a foundation that raises money for the Burlington school teachers. The teachers apply for grant money, and we have an approval committee who looks at their grant applications for projects inside their classrooms that are curriculum-based. But things that may go above and beyond what the Burlington Public Schools pays for outright. It's not school supplies, it's not textbooks, it's those little creative ideas that teachers have to supplement their classroom, to supplement their curriculum that, they may not have thought of to put into their own teacher budget, but a little bit above and beyond when they think of it over the summer and think, gee, wouldn't $500 be great to have this science kit in for 5th grade, or to try out these new chairs to help emotional children, or things like that. So it's all supplemental money for our Burlington teachers. It goes directly to the classroom.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I'm curious, there's a number of students behind you, are they part of your?
Nope.
They are
So
not.
The Team Light.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
Number
sorry.
6, 18, like, yep.
But they are the beneficiaries of the
They are
work
the
you do, so.
beneficiaries, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Other questions, comments? Excellent. So with that said, I would entertain a motion. If anybody would like to make one?
I'll make the motion if no one else is. I make a motion that we approve the road race for the Burlington Education Foundation on May 19th, starting at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Motion by Bob, second by Chris. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
John, thank you for bearing with us. Absolutely, yeah. Seriously, I appreciate that very much. How are you, sir?
Oh, fantastic. How are you?
Excellent.
Trying to see where it was next.
Do we have any more snow in the
Water
forecast, or
ban.
are we all
We
set?
don't talk about that until July,
Okay.
so. Anyhow, so just a quick update to the board and to the residents of the town that we're still on a full water ban. In December of 2018, the town declared a water emergency, and subsequent to that, DEP declared a water emergency for Burlington because of the issues that we had been having with maintenance and repairs. The emergency declaration came in handy just 10 days ago. We did have another emergency in the town. As we were doing maintenance at the Vinebrook trimming facility, and the facility was down for that, we lost one of the filters at the mill pond, which what happened at that point is we don't have enough water to provide to the system. We're able to get water from the Embleton area through Lexington. We're still connected, so it's been about 10 days that we've been going through this. We hope that by the end of this week or beginning of the following, we'll be able to go back to what we call normal. I think we all know what that means. In the full water ban will have to be lifted by the board subsequent to that, so we will be talking to you probably sometime in May about lifting, or late April, early May, about lifting the ban and just going back to our regular every other day. But until then, we are required to publicize the water ban. We're required to let everybody know that we have it. And it's good to remind people as the season is about to start that we are still on a full water ban. So I'm here to answer any questions on that or the water emergency we had this week.
Just to hold on to just one thing that you said, Betty, could we possibly, certainly with some communication, John, back and forth between the two of you, just to reduce the likelihood that the five of us get rocks thrown at us, can we set that conversation about potentially lifting the water ban for late April instead of early May? Can we try to shoot to do that? And then with some communication back and forth, figure out if that's something that we can try to do?
And that is possible. That
Okay.
depends on, again, part of the reason that we have this water ban in place
Yeah.
and the emergency is that we need to maintain the mill pond treatment plant as well, which we try to do just before the start of the outdoor watering season.
Sure.
So the longer we wait now, the easier it is for us to maintain that treatment plant throughout the summer.
Okay.
If we start too soon, then halfway through the summer, we will need to declare another water ban. So we try to schedule it as far into the summer as we can so we don't have to shut down our outdoor watering during the summer. So it's a little difficult. That's why I say late April, early May, depending on timing. But it has to do with maintenance issues.
Sure, and I think we all defer to your expertise, John. I just conveying to you that I know this is something that's important to the five of us, only because this is the one thing that people will walk up to you and talk about. So,
That's correct.
again, we'll defer to your expertise, but we're expecting a lot of conversation, just like we have had over the last couple of years. So, any other questions or comments so far? Excellent. Thank you, sir.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah.
The next item we have is sewer rates. So in your package, you have the recommendation to approve sewer rate increases for the next couple of years. And this is strictly based on the cost of the assessment to the MWRA. Now, we have not increased sewer rates since 2013. So as far as water, we did do an increase last year, but as far as sewer, we haven't done it since 2013. If we were not to increase the sewer rates right now, then we'll have to pay more per year than what we actually collect from the rate. So it's a modest increase that we're recommending. It is in the package, and it is about, I believe, 4% on just the sewer rate, since the water rate had already been approved. And what does that mean? that rate is sort of for most of the residents of the town, it'll be less than $16 per year in the sewer bill. So I'm here to answer any questions. You also have for reference what our rates are, even the new rates compared to our neighboring towns. I think you include that in the package. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of where we are, when you look at the combined annual sewer water charges for communities, Burlington falls as the lowest of all the communities surveyed, and even after this rate increase, we will continue to be the lowest. As reference to some of the other communities, for instance, if we were to use 90,000 gallons of water a year, our water and sewer bill would be a little bit over 600, compared to Bedford about 2,000, Lexington about 1,600, Reading 2,400 a year, and Wilmington 1,200. So we're still, by far, the most affordable community for water and sewer rates in the area.
Questions on that so far? So, John, focusing in on the fact that it's both water and sewer. So for people that typically have separate meters for irrigation, those aren't subject to sewer charges, which is why people go ahead and get them.
Correct.
So these averages and these rates of usage, and therefore the financial impact that these tend to have or not have on families, this is, like, these are not artificially low. These are low, these are actually low, not a result of the water ban that we've had the last couple of years.
Correct.
Okay, okay. Because they are impressive numbers.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
we've all heard it. Someone reads something or hears something, and then all of a sudden, we're getting blamed for the highest water rates and the highest increases in our water bills, yet there's no proof that that exists. But for some reason, people get that in their head, and it's just not true.
Yeah, and we get that, Mr. Chairman, we get that, and Bob, I'll tell you that in the office, and we have a way to compare actually every bill to any of the communities around us. And you hear, oh, my neighbor in Bedford pays less, and we can easily go. We have a place where we have all the rates for all the surrounding towns. We just plug in the number of gallons. And just like I said earlier, by far, we're less than half than pretty much everybody else that you can compare us to.
Thank you.
That's the reason for the questions. Excellent. Other comments, questions?
Just real quick.
Yes, sir.
We've been talking about this for a while, so if there's anybody that has watched this meetings, they kind of knew this was coming along. This was going to happen. The water rates went up a year ago to kind of compensate for the MWRA coming in, and the sewer rates were right behind it. So this isn't a surprise, and to realize that I knew we were low, very low in our rates, but I never realized how low we are till I actually saw the chart, which is extremely, extremely helpful for someone like me that has to explain this to the residents when they do ask about the water rates and the sewer rates. So this is extremely helpful, and I just want to say thank you for that. I will be taking this with me.
Posting it in the,
I am going to post it
Postage show.
someplace, yes, I am.
So we're looking for, yes,
I want to make sure I'm understanding the same, I've looked at the same chart Joe is, and so I want to make sure that I'm reading this properly. So if I'm not mistaken, the average water and sewer rate in this area is $880.04 per household. We're at the bottom at $227.16 per year?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm carrying the same chart that you're carrying, Joe. Thank you.
Make a little photocopy and put it in my wallet.
Stick it on your phone.
Joe and Jimmy like that you use pretty colors too,
Yeah.
John, so thanks for that. Any other,
Something wrong with that?
any other questions and comments?
Just so we get the right numbers,
Yeah.
John, would you give us the numbers that you are looking for the increase? So
Yes,
when
what
we make the-
what I would like is for the board to approve the rates for FY '20 and FY '21 that are on the separate page from the memo, which I didn't have in front of you. You can bring those to you.
Okay.
That'd be a page 2.
So we're looking for, John, to summarize, we're looking for a motion that will take, so it has the current rate, you're looking for us to approve separately. I think we could take all these as one motion, right? The residential and the commercial. I don't see the reason to separate those out.
That's typically how the board does it.
Yeah, so one motion.
As presented.
Say it again.
Yeah, make a
Yeah.
motion that the increases for FY '20 and '21 are as presented, and we'll make sure that the press and the media has that information, I'm sure, right? So it can get out to the residents.
Post it on our website as well as share it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and just, and per 1,000 gallons, the semi-annual use goes from $39.52 to $41.10. So that's what, $1.50 or something?
I'm not going to correct you.
Yeah.
It's about 60 cents, right? Yeah. So basically, we're going from 39.52 to 41.10 for fiscal year '20. Then in fiscal year '21, it's going to 42.74. So from 39.52 to 41.10, this is per 1,000 gallons, from 39.52 to 41.10, and then to 42.74 in fiscal year '21. And then if you go down to the commercial rates, again, per 1,000 gallons, current rate $19.76, fiscal year '20, $20.55, and fiscal year '21, $21.37. Any issue with the way I read that, John, or is that?
Those are for the minimum users.
Mhm.
So rather than per gallon, which the majority, we have 36% of our residents pay that rate that you just talked about. So it's a good group of our residents see the minimum bill as opposed to anything else.
Okay. I'm not really feeling like we need to go all the way through and share all that information now. It's public information. It'll be on, you mentioned it'll be on the website, and we will make sure that the members of the press have this to leave with this evening.
Or Randy's Barber Shop.
Yeah, yeah, okay. We'll definitely have a copy there.
Sorry, Paul, you'll never see it.
So, does somebody want to make the motion as read?
I'll make the motion that we approve the rates as presented.
As presented,
Second.
okay. So, motion by Mike to approve as presented, second from Jimmy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. So 5-0-0.
Mr. Chairman, the only
Yeah.
thing that, if you don't mind, and it came in a little late on this end, but effective July 1st, that's one of the things that,
So
I
added,
don't
yeah.
think we said it, but that's how it was shown in the paperwork that we.
So for fiscal year '20, so effective July 1st, and then fiscal year '21, effective July 21st of 2020. 2020? Wow. Okay. So thanks for that, John. So 5-0-0 in favor on that one, in case I didn't already say it.
Thank you.
We have another item with you as
Yeah, the
well.
last item we have is, we need to update our cemetery rules and regs. We've been here a couple of times as we've been developing the cemetery, particularly last time we were here was to do with the columbarium and some rules to apply to them. We neglected to actually improve or change our rules for the flat market section of the cemetery. And so what we're trying to do with the proposal you have in front of you is to separate the rules from what is a regular grave and a flat market grave, only because the flat market section is different. There's not enough space for, not even space for a headstone for the matter and some of the other things. So we want to have this approved, so we limit the type of items that can be placed, and that will allow us to properly do maintenance in that particular section. I will tell you, though, as preemption of what is happening, right now, that particular area, we're having a little bit of an issue with the spring and the thaw, and it's in particularly bad condition right now. We're going to try to address that this spring and probably start a different section so we can work on it. But part of it has to do with how hard it is to work in this crowded area that we created. But if you don't forget, I mean, this is the only option that we had when we expanded the cemetery because of the lack of space. So It's a little bit difficult, that's what we had. We're doing the best we can to improve it and for it to look good, but we also need the rules to help us do our maintenance.
Okay.
And I have to say that Frank Anderson, Lee Foreman is with me too, to help us answer any questions you may have.
Sure. So to sum up, Paul, did you want to add anything? I'm sorry.
Nope, just a couple minor changes to the regulations.
You want to lay those on us now, and then,
They
Okay.
can.
okay, okay, because I was just going to go through, I mean, specifically the rules, quote-unquote, that we're trying to put in place, John, if you could go ahead and,
Sure. Is one, no plantings of any kind will be allowed. I mean, as in the cemetery, there's not enough room to do any type of plantings. That particular area of town we have, or the cemetery, I should say, we have the vaults just below the surface as well, so there's really not room for plantings there. So we want to prohibit any plantings. Flower pots, we will allow them, but they have to be of a certain size, not to exceed 6 inches in size, and not higher than 12 inches. So again, so we can go around, move them if we need to, so it'll be something small as opposed to maybe bringing a tree and putting it there, which some of it we've seen. Flag holders and visual lights, we will allow those, but again, it will not exceed 12 inches by 18 and nothing bigger than 2 feet. And again, this is just to do, again, with the maintenance that we try to do. And everything else that residents may place in there will be removed on a weekly basis without notice. This is, a lot of the rules in the cemetery said that you shouldn't place certain items, such as statues or other things that, crosses or things that people may want to bring. Those will be removed. They actually, as they are in some other parts of the cemetery as well. So those are the major parts that have to do with that. The other two revisions that we have on the rules, if you want me to go into them as well, is one has to do with how funeral homes notify our department of a burial. We just want to make sure that they send that to an email so we can have a record. And the second one is the definition of an interment in the veterans section, which it specifically talks about being approved by the Veteran Services Director and the Buildings and Cemetery Superintendent. We have had instances where non-veterans want to be buried in the veterans section. We want to make sure that the follow proper procedure, when in doubt, go to a Veteran Services Director who will give us a recommendation on what to do.
If I may.
yes, sir.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that a lot of conversations with Mr. Sanchez over this, and I'm sure he talked to Mr. Anderson about it also. So there was quite a few conversations we had back and forth about, the grieving process on people when they lose someone that they loved so much. And a lot of that was taken into consideration with a lot of these rules and regulations. But on the cemetery end of it, when they start to put things there that meant a lot to them, if you do it for everybody that's in that cemetery, it becomes quite hazardous for the workers to cut around the grass, to not break anything, not take down a statue. This was a tough subject that we had talked about because of the severity of where it's going and what's going on with this. So, number one, I just want to thank both of you guys for your compassion of what's going on with this situation. Secondly, the only thing I want to say is when they talk about planting, that means digging up the ground and planting a shrub or planting flowers or planting an arborvitae or whatever it may be. That's what they're talking about when they say no plantings. You want to put a vase out there that constricts with the rules and regulations, that's fine. You want to put a stuffed animal out there for a week or so, that's fine. These are all in our rules and regulations for the cemetery. And trust me, I have a couple of friends over there and I go visit them all the time. And it's a very, very tough thing for any of us to realize the grieving process of somebody else. Mine is so much different than somebody else's. You may grieve for 20 years. You never get over the loss of somebody. It's always inside of you. We were trying to give them the benefit of the doubt for all of these things, but the bottom line to me is I would like to thank these two gentlemen up here for their compassion and their thoughtfulness on what's going on at the cemetery. That's all.
Well said, Joe. Thank you. Jimmy?
John, will these rules be posted anywhere in the cemetery?
So what we do with the rules is, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, we have them all posted on a box in the cemetery?
And we give out every
gets one.
And I don't know if you heard Frank too, but every time that somebody actually purchases, a lot gets a copy of the rules.
The reason why I say is, the purchaser has the paper, but you may have a visitor that doesn't have access to that. So maybe, posting these rules conspicuously will help cut down on some of the
By the door.
issues.
We do have a box by the door with them.
Each cemetery has a box.
Are they
So, they are online as well, yes. And the new, if approved tonight, will also be included in a new, and they'll post it online as well.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? No. So with that said,
That being said, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, where am I, to approve the new rules and regulations for the cemetery for the town of Burlington.
Second.
motion by, did you second that?
Go ahead.
So, motion by Joe, second by Bob, third by Mike. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. John, before you scoot, is future land for use as a cemetery something that should be a topic of conversation still by this board and boards in the, I see Mr. Anderson's nodding his head up and down. So that is still, I don't want to call it an issue, but that should still be an area of concern that whoever the 5 people are sitting here should continue to make a topic of conversation. Is that, does Mr. Anderson speak for both of you? with
Yes,
that?
yes, he does. The only thing that we have, and we've been, based on what we read and from what statistics are in all different states here in the United States on how many cremations we've been seeing, our only hope is that the full burials are going to decline, and with that, we may expand our columbarium sections as we go forward, and that may save us from having to acquire a lot of land. But we're still doing regular burials as well as selling columbarium niches. So the only time will tell over the next 10 years where we're heading. But yes, if we're going to continue to do full burials, we're going to need more land.
Okay. And fair to say, the topic of the springtime issue that you made reference to, is that something that becomes less of an issue as the weather turns, as things start to dry out, or is that a year-round issue? Is it specific only to this time of year?
Depends on how wet and how much rain we get.
Okay.
'Cause
But
an
it's a
act- It's an active area, so there's always fresh dirt.
Okay.
So, unfortunately,
Are you-
people coming to visit might have to walk through mud or try to get around it. And
Okay.
Try and keep it as neat as possible.
Yeah, so you're getting feedback on that now. Okay. I guess that's something for all of us to kind of keep an eye on. To Joe's point, the cemetery folks, for whatever reason, for obvious reasons, actually tend to be very aware of where they work and the type of people that are going to that area. So thanks for that. So we'll keep that on the radar, I guess. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So the next item is 60, use of town common. This is a favorite amongst the guys, so Cheryl, how are you? Good. This is always a great production. Yeah, we should,
I think there's more than before. This is like the biggest crowd I've
Yeah.
ever seen.
I almost want to
This
say.
is a big class. Who's got popcorn?
We'll give you some time to set up, Rich. We're going to give BCAT a minute just to get situated, and then,
June 8th, June 1st.
Do any of the parents want to come up here so they can see the kids
Yeah.
and take pictures?
this would be the time to take pictures if any parents want to do that.
Yeah, come on up here, guys.
And here they come. They could
No,
just,
come on up here.
You can just stand up behind, you could come right
here.
and stand up behind us.
Cheryl, put them right here, the parents
Or in
that
front
want
of
to
us.
take pictures. Yeah.
That's all right, come on.
Come right up. We're all gonna miss supper anyway, so come up and take pictures. Laura, will you get a picture of me and the guys too? Thanks. Are we starting on that side or are we starting on this side?
They're going to introduce themselves.
Yes.
It'll form a little stand.
And which way does it start? On that side?
That's the first thing, right?
You ready, Rich? I'm ready. All right. All right, let it rip, guys.
They're waiting for me to say something first.
Okay.
So, just wanted to thank you for having us here. Back with my colleague, Mary Ellen Murray, and this year we also have our principal, Carrie Purchases, with us, and our assistant principal, Josh Burke. And we're going to turn it right on over to this year's student leaders.
I'm Elisa. My name's Christina. My name's Layla. I'm Victoria.
I'm Maddie.
I'm Julia. My name's Leah. I'm Emma. I'm Mira.
Tight up
I'm
there.
Valerie.
I'm Ava.
I'm Layla. I'm Megan. I'm Caitlin. I'm Alicia.
I'm Bella.
I'm Madeline.
Good afternoon. Here tonight, today we are here to once again request permission to use the Burlington Town Common for our 11th annual Teen Night Ball Club. Over the past 10 years, we have raised approximately $20,000. And a big part of that is what we earned from this annual ball club.
We are once again invited we will raise this year's ball fund next year.
In November, students of the 8th grade class have the opportunity to apply to become a Teen Night leader. The students are interested in becoming a leader, submit an application with their ideas of community service and have it this year stand out from previous years. We also talked about reasons we want to become a Teen Night leader. We leaders meet at least once a month to brainstorm and work on how to make Teen Night even better than our ideas. We are very excited to be planning this 11th annual Bond Competition.
11 years ago, the 8th grade students of Marshall Simons were inspired by an article pertaining to community service projects done by adults around the world. They wondered, if we had $1 million, which issue would we choose to help? They chose depression. These students became the first 8th graders to help implement the Teen Night program. Over the past 11 years, Teen Night has raised over $120,000 for various matters concerning teens and children. Teen Night focused on many different topics over the years and has positively impacted the community since then. We have covered several important concerns over our 11 years, such as depression, suicide and mental health, childhood abuse, bullying, autism, poverty, and cancer for 3 years.
This year, the 8th grade class of 2023 is going to continue Teen Night's legacy. Our cause for this year is depression, suicide, and mental health as chosen by our fellow 8th grade peers. Our plan is to raise money to help local children suffering from mental health issues and depression. We are still finalizing how we will distribute the funds raised. We are definitely donating to the Riverside Community Care, who we have worked with in the past. We are also thinking of partnering up with the Burlington Family and Youth Services.
As Teen Night leaders, we are always looking for ways that our donations can help people who need it the most. This year, we have researched several organizations that we can use in nationwide and will help teens who are dealing with mental health issues. We are currently in the process of finalizing where the money will go, but we have narrowed it down to Riverside Community Care, McLean Hospital, and Burlington Youth Services. Overall, our goal is to help raise money for the teens who need it, and with your help, we can accomplish this.
As you may already know, Teen Night has raised a lot of money by selling chocolate lollipops. In the past, groups of about 20 students stayed after school each day for a month. They made, wrapped, and packaged hundreds of lollipops. By the end of the month, approximately 200 8th graders stayed after to help make the lollipops. Last year, Teen Night sold a record-breaking 5,000 lollipops. They were sold at about $1 each, and everyone was excited to donate money for a lollipop in return. Unfortunately, due to concerns beyond the control of our school and principal, we were not allowed to sell lollipops this year. However, we focused on the positive, and this means that we're adding even more activities into our schedule to raise more money and awareness.
Although we are not permitted to sell lollipops this year, we have tons of other activities planned. We already had 2 miniature spirit days for Valentine's Day and Patrick's Day, which were a major success, raising $320 to $320.04. As you can see, our profit noticeably increased by a whole 4 cents. We are planning to sell merchandise, have a walkathon, send flowers or cards for random acts of kindness week, have a pep rally, and also plan a March Madness basketball tournament where the students can compete against each other as well as their teams.
Team Light is not only known for helping children and teens, it is also known for being an award-winning organization. For example, the Massachusetts Society for Suicide Prevention presented Team Light with an award in September of 2009. Also, Make a Difference recognized both Teen Light leaders in past years for their community service and their dedication to help others.
Some people believe once you're diagnosed with mental illness, you cannot have a good time. Everything makes you sad or bad. However, that is not the case. Teen Light is all about finding the cure and always looking at the positives. Teen Light works hard and has fun every time it comes to task. Helping people makes us feel good and it inspires others.
Every year, around 400 to 500 people attend the walk-on. At that event, we like to have an assortment of foods and activities for everyone to enjoy. The students who attend always enjoy playing with their favorite teachers and coaches and hanging with their friends. Walk also allows people to feel themselves always in learning for an important cause. We have to have our partner organizations set up booths and more awareness.
As leaders, we have heard about the success of past year's walkathons and are excited to create our own special twist on our mission. Teen Light raises approximately $5,000 from the walkathon each year. This year is going to be the most exciting walkathon as ever. Our walk will spread awareness about our cause, anxiety and depression, and bring the entire Burlington community together to support the cause.
This year, we would like to request permission to hold the annual walkathon on Saturday, June 1st. We are also requesting a rain date of Saturday, June 8th, but we have our fingers crossed that we won't need it. The walkathon will involve walk around parts of Burlington and an event on the common called the Walk. Our walk is a 5K and is the same as the BEF's route. We brought copies of our maps to submit for your approval. This route is safe for all participants and we will have our participants returning to the community after visiting home meetings.
We are here to request your permission to use the town's common the day of the walkathon. We want to begin and end our walk on the common. We would also use the common to offer snacks, drinks, and some activities for participants after the walk.
Thanks, honey.
For people who do not want to walk the 5K, you'll be able to stay on the common and try to have available. We will also raise additional money through various activities. Finally, we will make sure that we clean up before leaving the common.
We would start setup at 9 a.m., start the registration at 10:30 a.m., and start the walk at 11 a.m. From 11:45 to 12:45 would be the after party. If everything goes as planned, we will be off the common by 1 p.m. We will have a setup team, a cleanup team, and many people working shifts at each activity or stand during the day. As far as food and drinks go, we were hoping for slushies, cotton candy, popcorn, and water. Activities will include a dunk tank, moon bounce, DJ, live band, and raffles.
We are funding many of the activities through a benevolent donation to sponsors. We have a lineup of students who will request support from local businesses, including sponsors from previous walkathons. Some of the sponsors from last year's walkathon include local restaurants, local stores, and Mr. Randy Village. We just so happen to have sponsor letters here with us tonight.
We have a committee responsible for advertising the walk and educating people on Teen Light's goals. Feedback from previous years told us that many people were unaware of what Teen Light was about nor the purpose of the walk. Through the years, more people have gone to know about Teen Light and who
Thank you very much.
teenagers with mental illness.
Thank you.
Even though Teen Light awareness has spread, we will continue to promote our ideas to those who have never heard of the organization. We are confident that all participants will be more knowledgeable of Teen Light by the end of the walkathon, and they will be more willing to support us if we use it.
In the past 8 years, students have loved using the walk. It has grown to a popular organization. We would like to include the work of the We'd like to publicize the event by putting a message on the website. We would like to PHS students for the voice and impact of Teen Light and education and We will make flyers to put up on the campus. We will also put up signs. That way, everyone will be sure to know when, where, and how much fun the walkathon will be.
Throughout our 11 years, we have raised a ton of money for these various causes, and a large amount of it has come from our annual
Saturday, June 1st. Thank you for your time and efforts.
That was pretty good. Yeah. Cheryl, anything you want to add before we open it up to questions, or does that pretty much summarize it? Okay, excellent. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I say this every year. First of all, congratulations. And you have created in the last 11 years a feeder system, so to speak, for the high school Interact Club, which is these guys at the high school. It's the High School Rotary Club, and they're very big into charity. It has become one of the biggest, if not largest, club at the high school, and it starts with these guys, and you ought to be congratulated for creating that mentality so that when they get there, they want to be part of that organization. And they do a lot of fundraising and charitable work, and it's so great to see that even sometimes with all the bad news, that there's that feel good that our kids are still going to be okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting.
That's a great point, Bob. Other questions, comments? Yep.
I'm just trying to figure out how come there's only two guys, or three, I'm sorry. I couldn't see him over the girl there, but there's only three boys in that
How,
group.
I was going to point
I
that
was
out
like- I was like-
myself, actually.
But they don't realize how lucky they are, do they?
Which one of you is Ms. Vidum? Sorry. Your brother, did he do this a couple of years ago? Do we know? Laura, did Ricky do this as?
Ricky was not,
Okay,
lots of other things, but not.
okay, all right. Stavan Shah, maybe was he a member of this group? I guess to Bob's point, it is not lost on anybody here that the foundation that you're laying with these kids now, these kids, we're seeing them 2-3 years from now, and if we're all lucky, we'll continue to see them as contributors to the community. But, somebody who was standing here 4 years ago recently changed a bylaw in town with the help of town meeting. So these are the kinds of things that Bob's making reference to. These are, so instead of being home one night, they're here, and instead of going home after school, they're putting lollipops together and they're organizing stuff. And it's important that you guys understand how important it is what you're doing to be productive members of the community. So, the five of us and everybody else do thank you sincerely, as Bob mentioned. So, so we need a motion to.
Well, before we do that, I
Yes.
would like to just, I got to tell you, I'm really disappointed without my lollipop. I don't know who I'm going to talk to. I'm going to talk to somebody.
Yeah, I mean, we had.
Every year, I look forward to that one sitting right there in front of me.
Yeah.
I was all excited when I left the house tonight, and I was like, what do you mean there's no lollipops?
Yeah.
That was it? So just to, I think I'm sweating thinking about
Yeah,
it.
well, you'll, so Cheryl, maybe next year you can,
A Hershey bar, something, I don't know.
okay,
Just bring 5 Hershey bars.
yeah. Any other questions, comments, or requests?
Just,
Yes, sir.
just briefly,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Each year we get a nice turnout from the middle school. This bodes well for the future of Burlington, that we can produce this many students year in and year out. And I suspect that your community service is going to carry on into your adult years and beyond. And Burlington is, I think, well-positioned for the future with the amount of support we get from the students in our school system. So thank you again for being here.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
You're an amazing group of young adults, running an amazing event. It just seems like it's just another one of those Burlington things that perpetuates, grows every year. And if there's no further discussion, I'd be honored to make a motion that approve the use of the town common for the walkathon Teen Light on June 1st with a rain date of June 8th.
Motion by Jim.
Second.
Second by Joe. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 500. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You guys have to stay for the rest of the meeting, though.
He's talking to the parents.
We're also looking for selectmen for the dunk tank.
June 1st, that's a little chilly still.
Yeah, that is. Thank you. Yeah, good point. Or actually, April 8th, oh, yeah, I'll sign up right now. All right, Mr. Cuna, how are you? And then there was one.
You have to read that.
Very much.
Where are we?
All right. So how are you, sir?
Doing well, thank you.
Excellent. You are here this evening because we are going to work with you to ask the state
Again.
things.
I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah, so on behalf of the School Committee of Burlington, of course, Superintendent Dr. Conti, I am here seeking the Board of Selectmen's approval so we can submit a statement of interest to the MSBA. That's the Massachusetts School Building Authority. So this will be our 8th year submitting it for the high school program. Again, that means 7 unsuccessful tries. Obviously, we are maintaining our buildings to the best of our abilities, but we just think that the systems are above our capabilities and actually need replacements due to their age, wear and tear, and so forth. So like I said, this would be our 8th submittal. There is a formal process, if you all agree that you would like to support this, that you would actually have to read it into tonight as part of the approval, so we can submit those minutes in.
Okay. And I believe we also have had some, and I certainly will open it up to questions or comments, and I will read this. But I believe we've also sort of had some preliminary talks about how we can, in fact, as a schools and as an administration, work together to go ahead and present an option to the state that we hope is a successful one. So I know we've had some preliminary talks, so, you know, I expect that we'll be working together on that going forward, so thank you.
Thank you as well, I appreciate the help.
So I guess let's have the questions and the comments first, and then we'll go ahead and read this and take a position on it.
Bob, is this the requests we get for the HVAC in lab space and so on and so forth, part of this request, or is this separate?
Yes, so.
So it's that same package we've been seeing?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And we're getting feedback from the authority as to why they may have not in the past jumped to approve things, and we're taking that into consideration with what we're asking for going forward. So I know that's part of the conversation that we've had. Other questions, comments?
And I don't mean to put you on the spot here, Bob, and if you don't want to answer it, that's fine, but how many more times can we hear no from the state before we have to do something? Meaning that, you know, are the schools going to have some issues in the next 4, 5, 8, 10 years? Whereas if the state keeps saying no, we're going to have to do something ourselves?
It's a great question. I won't go too deep into my answer, but that is something that has been brought up at school committee meetings, and it is something that we would like to put a committee together and start having those conversations. I personally don't believe, nor the school committee, that we could abandon the high school, so we may need to seek an avenue, a different avenue than the one that we're going on right now if we're unsuccessful this year. But again, which building project we would look at in place, I can't answer that until we have those conversations. But regardless of, even if we were to look at somewhere else for a project that's a higher priority than the high school, we still could not abandon the high school, the needs that it has for the HVAC, electrical upgrades, classroom upgrades, things like that. So So we would definitely have to come up with some plan, at least to tackle those in multi-phases.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I would ask that we consider, in moving into the future, contacting the school committee and the school department and having a subcommittee of some form to sit down and start having at least the initial conversations as to how long this can go on for, or when we have to make a decision to drop the hammer on something.
Right. Thanks.
Okay. Other questions, comments? So we can sort that out. Yeah. Okay, so when and if somebody were to make the motion, I'll read what the potential motion should be, and then if somebody cares to make the motion, we can go ahead and take it from there. And this is, again, regarding Board of Selectmen vote authorization, Massachusetts School Building Authority. And the motion could potentially be read as resolved. Having convened in an open meeting on March 25th, 2019, prior to the SOI submission closing date, the Board of Selectmen of Burlington, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated April 1st, 2019, for the Burlington High School, located at 123 Cambridge Street, Burlington, Massachusetts, 01803, which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Priority number 3, prevention of the loss of accreditation. Priority number 5, replacement, renovation, or modernization of school facility systems such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating and ventilation systems to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs in a school facility. And priority number 7, the replacement of or addition to obsolete buildings in order to provide for a full range of programs consistent with state and approved local requirements. The specific project will update classrooms and replace science labs to be a more effective learning environment, replace aged-out heating and ventilation / cooling equipment that is original construction 1971, replace interior building components, lockers, lighting, fire alarm, etc., and provide updated security improvements which will extend the life of the existing facility, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting the statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or approval of an application, the awarding of a grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commits the city, town, regional school district to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. So that would be a potential motion that we would make based on Bob's presentation and request before you this evening. And again, to add, I completely agree with Bob's suggestion that we do have some sort of a joint committee to do whatever we can to increase the likelihood that something be approved so that we can work with the state to make some improvements to the schools. Questions, comments?
On that note, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to what was just read into the minutes.
So motion by Joe to make a motion for, motion as read. Second by Bob. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500.
Thank you.
So thank you, and we'll talk with you guys soon.
Well, can we get that motion next year broken up on separate index cards, like the Teen Life folks did? That's a long one.
Yeah.
That's a long one.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a great, yeah, let's put it at the same, have them read it. Absolutely, I bet every one of them could have done a better job than what I just did, so,
Great, I appreciate it. Thank you all for the support.
thanks, Rob. So we'll be in touch, or we'll all be in touch. I believe Terry is already sort of circulating some requests for that, so we'll look forward to working together with you.
You as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll take care of this tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
Gentlemen,
Nothing left on my little screen yet.
how are you guys?
Great.
Brian, are you here for all of them, or is one of them,
Central
or?
administration and debt.
Okay, so unless somebody,
Well, town meeting's an easy go, so we can just do that one.
what's that?
Town meeting's an easy one to do, so we can just do that first one.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
We don't typically, the board hasn't voted on these budgets in the past few years because they're kind of shared accounts amongst all towns as opposed to departments that report up through the town administrator. But we did want to present the budgets to you just so you'd have an option to ask questions and we can let you know what's going on in these individual categories. Brian is here and John is here, and I planned on not doing all the blabbing myself on the budget, so we're gonna hand over that to John and Brian to sort of walk you through these. And again, you probably, I don't recall the board having voted on these in the past, but we just wanted you to be aware that these were the budgets that were going to town meeting under these categories. So,
And Ways and Means has or has not heard these yet?
they've heard some of them, but probably not all of them.
Okay. All right.
So, thank you. Do you want me to just go in order, or do you want me to do the?
Sure, yeah, that way we can be in the right place when,
Right. So, town meeting reports is 113 in your book. This one is fairly straightforward. The total budget, 15,908, is level funded from last year, 0% increase. And the budget is made up of two pieces. One is in salaries, there's a small amount, $3,333, and that pays for the people that work at town meeting. These are the checker people, the microphone runners, and all those folks that are working at town meeting. That's the line we pay them from. And then the other piece is in contracted services, $12,575, and that's to print the annual report, print the warrant and the backups, the budget book, and pay for legal notices. So as I said, it was level funded from last year and probably many years before that. Any questions?
any questions on this 0% increase budget? I just have a quick one. Police details, do they get put on this budget, or is that the police details that are utilized on Election Day?
Oh, that's a separate budget, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Fortunately, we don't need police details for town meeting yet.
Okay.
May at some point in the
Okay.
future to control the crowd, but the town clerk has an elections budget within her budget that encompasses all the costs of holding town elections.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Any better questions? No.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Bob. Second by?
Joe.
Joe. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Thank you. For central administration, the total budget for FY & is just shy of 17 million, it's $16,919,931. That represents a 3.4% increase over the current year. This central administration is made up of two parts. The first part being central supply and machine, so that's supplies and copiers that are, throughout all of, or most of the town departments. They're paid for from one budget so that we can have some efficiencies with that. And the second part of it is these are all come from our, what we call accommodated or the undistributed accounts. These are the accounts that are shared throughout the town and not put into one budget. Things like health insurance and OPEB and unemployment and pensions. But a little bit on the accommodated accounts, the undistributed or shared accounts, the health insurance or health benefits for employees increase is 3%, held to 3% this year. The town has a good track record of keeping that increase pretty low. The OPEB increase is 9%, just as the plan has indicated to grow by 9% over the next however many years. So that's paying right on was planned. Unemployment and is level funded. and so is the audit. And then in insurance and Medicare is increased just by an annual, people making more, and with insurance, just a new contract.
John, could you remind us and the folks at home what the guideline was that you asked all of the town departments to come in at this year?
So the blended guideline rate was 3.5
Okay.
for operating, and for accommodated was 7.
Okay, thank you. That being said, questions, comments on this piece?
One quick one, if I could.
Yes.
Brian, could we just describe, some of these, like OPEB, have a formula, but some of the others are responding to markets. How do we determine what the needs are each year for each of these accounts?
Okay, Bob, and for the board, like, for instance, if we look at the health insurance budget, obviously, that's driven by claims, because we're self-funded. That's only gone up like 3%. We've got a great track record, as John has indicated. We've been maintaining that on a 4-year average for like 3.5%, which is very fantastic. Most communities are well over double digits on their health insurance. And that's all driven by the number of people, Bob, that we're hiring, whether there's new hires that, come on the plan, as well as, we offer insurance to our retirees. So that number's going up every year because most of our retirees take health insurance when they retire, because not, as you know, most companies don't offer health insurance when you retire. The public sector does. It's an option under, the state of Massachusetts. The OPEB, the difference between the OPEB funding, that's on a funding schedule, a 40-year funding schedule, and that's the funding schedule is a 9.3% increase every year. And then, as you people probably know, the board knows, we've been funding that extra every year. If we have money in free cash, we put out another $500,000 in that last year. So we've done very well building that fund up. Actually, the balance in that fund is $7,890,000. The town has put in $6,246,701. We have earned investment income of $1,643,736. That's one of the reasons I want to come tonight, is to highlight some of those things. We highlighted some of those numbers, Paul and I, at the Ways and Means Committee meeting when we went before them a couple weeks ago. Something I thought the board should be well aware of. And likewise, the health insurance trust balance right now is $9,252,270, which is a very healthy trust balance. We have invested of those funds $5,561,120. We keep some funds somewhat liquid in money market accounts. The others are invested long-term. And we've earned an average return for the last 3 years of 6.52%, so we're doing very well on that. So Burlington's been in a really very healthy and good position with their health care and their budgeting, and it shows in these numbers. So any other questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them.
Thank you, Brian.
Are there any other questions? No? Okay. Sealer of weights and measures, another 0% increase.
Another 0% increase. Operating the same plan is the same for next year. Right now, we currently use our sealer services from the state and don't have our own sealer. And that costs us $15,000 a year. We budget for half of that and pay for half of that out of the revolving account established to collect the fees for those measurements through all the businesses throughout town.
Questions or comments on the sealer of weights and measures budget? Anything else to add on that by anybody? No. Negotiated settlements.
Negotiations, settlements is, I think, 900 in your book. It's the very last section. The budget for next year is $880,000. That's a small increase from what was the original budget for the current year. I think everybody's aware this is where, since we don't have contracts with any of our unions for next year, this is where we budget the money to cover any potential collective bargaining agreements.
Thus the reason for that percentage change.
Yes.
Okay. Questions or comments on that piece? No. Debt.
I'll start. So debt, there's a memo in the packet for you in the front cover that just outlines what, the memo outlines what the budget is for next year. There's also some attached schedules for you to check out, but the budget for next year is $6,882,247. That's about an 8% increase over this year. The principal itself raised by about 6%, or just over 6%, and the interest increased by 12%.
So just as a reminder, one quick question on that. So we began construction, we began work on the new fire station in 2018. What year, that shows in fiscal year 20, when did that show on the schedule? The 2019?
The first interest payment's typically a year later.
A year later.
For the
Okay.
fire station, Brian, I believe we borrowed that money for the fire station. That project is
Correct.
well underway.
Okay.
You know, we're planning on opening that in the spring, so.
And that's when you'll see.
Majority of those funds have been spent, the bonds have been issued, so we'll start repaying those at present.
Okay.
Contrary to that, with the DPW facility, we've only borrowed a small amount of money to date, because that project is still in the design phase, design and permitting, so. Once we get into a construction cycle on that, then we'll start to layer some more of that debt in here. But
And that's when you'll see the impact.
those projects were included in our debt plan already. So although we may not be paying some of that money back this year, we've been contemplating having to pay that money back in our upcoming years. So it's been accounted for those two projects.
For planning purposes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, comments on debt?
If I-
Yes.
yeah. Either John or Brian, what is our percentage of total debt as, relates to the budget? Is that 4.9, is that number, or is it higher than that?
Total percentage of what? The
Of the debt that we hold?
We're about 6%, I'd say, Paul, is roughly where we
We're a
are.
little bit lower than that. We've
Yeah.
been chasing it,
Yeah.
chasing the 6% for several years now. so.
And what do the experts say is the good number to have?
Anything under 8% is, they say, is a good number. So we're well below what the average, city or town would have for bonded debt. So we're well below that, and that's why, we're able to, as Paul said, we schedule these things out, and we try to keep it around the 6 and under the 7% number, and we have been very successful in doing that over the last 20 years.
To your point, Bob, I remember there was a time that our credit score was adversely affected, or our grade as a community was adversely affected because we didn't owe enough money, which, in turn, to them, to those that grade those things, meant that we weren't investing enough in our infrastructure. So it sounds like we are still where we need to be.
And at some point in time, every community budgets things a little bit differently. If you go to a neighboring community, they might borrow money for police cruisers. We put those in the budget. As the board knows, we do about $3 million worth of capital warrant articles at town meeting. A lot of communities borrow for that. We pay cash for it. So if you're gonna analyze how well we're investing into the infrastructure of the community, I think it's important to include those too, because some communities have to borrow for computers and things that are, only gonna be around for 5 years.
Yeah.
Whereas we pay for that in our operating budgets or with warrant articles. So there's a significant investment going on outside of what we're actually borrowing too. So we've been fortunate to do that. And I think when you start adding those numbers in, it would show that we're investing very heavily into the town's future by investing in infrastructure, equipment, and building repairs and things of that nature.
And in turn, we don't have some of that divisiveness when it comes time to purchase a new school, because it's not like one of these, this group of people really wants to do it, and this group of people really doesn't want to do it because of how hugely their personal finances will be impacted by the project. So thank you for having the foresight of having a capital budget plan.
Chris, we've been fortunate to have, excess free cash the last 3 or 4 years, and that's what we've used it for, is to
Yeah.
pay down some of that debt before we bond it. There's no sense bonding it if we can pay cash, you know, it's like anything, it's just good planning.
That's what happens when accountants are driving the bus, and I feel surrounded by accountants at this point, so I appreciate that. So any other questions or comments on that piece? So legal looks like the next piece.
So legal is another level-funded budget, $102,000 again next year. We sort of earmark a portion of that for legal fees, you know, a little more than half of that for legal fees, and then a portion for collective bargaining, and a small amount to cable negotiations and tax title.
And no expected jump, given our recent change in teams?
No.
Questions, comments on legal? No? Good. So that takes us through that. Are you both will you both be here for the application for bond proceeds to debt service payments? Are you the appropriate group for that? Okay. Excellent. So we can jump right into that. We're not taking a position on the budget items, so,
Nope, it's not necessary, we just wanted to bring those to the board for question and answers and just for your general review of those budgets.
okay.
Federal administration, I thought, was one we had taken a position on in the past.
I don't recall that, Mike, to be honest with you. We went back and reviewed several past years' selectmen's meetings to sort of determine what the vote list was, and I believe that wasn't on there. And
I'll take
the
your
board
word for it.
approves the health insurance premiums typically in the fall, so that could be perhaps what you're referring to.
Okay.
You want to, Mike? Do you want to take?
No,
Okay.
I don't know. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's
Okay.
my philosophy.
Okay.
Stick with that.
So item 63, application for bond proceeds to debt service payments.
So the purpose of this item is vote to allow a surplus balance of a bond be spent to pay down debt service for that. So this is what would be left over after we finish the project, and there's still some money left in that bond. So currently, in one of our projects, we have a balance of $22,342.50. And since the Municipal Modernization Act in 2016, it increased the limit of the balance you could use to pay down that bond or a bond of equal or greater length from $1,000 to $50,000. So since the Whitney had sent a memo that outlines it pretty good in there, so this really becomes a housekeeping matter for us. We didn't spend the money, we can use it to pay down debt and interest, so that's what we're looking to do. And if it were over $50,000, we would need town meeting to vote that, but anything under $50,000 can be done by others.
Just
And
the
this item,
housekeeping.
we need to take a position. I'm sorry, did I
Just
interrupt
the
you?
housekeeping.
Okay.
That's all.
This bond was originally for a water tank project for painting and repairing water tanks from 2009.
Okay. But we do need to take a position on this.
Yes.
So, would anybody like to make, I'm sorry, anything more to add on that? Or does anybody want to make a motion on this item? So, motion, I'm sorry. Motion to approve by Mike, second from Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Betty, Maytown meeting warrant.
Yes. We have a few things on it now. We have a lot of capital items. But right now, we have Friday as a closing date.
Okay.
Warrant articles are due by Friday.
Okay.
March 29th, and at that point in time, we'll be able to circulate a list to the board, and we'll start bringing them into you for a votes of approval. We've already talked with all the departments about their capital plan. We don't know what the schools are doing yet. They have worked with us on the summer money, and they'll prioritize their own projects. But in terms of the town side departments, we've spoken to everybody so far and gone through everything, and we just want, I know Betty wanted to highlight the deadline for the warrant articles, which is coming up this Friday. and a couple other dates.
If you could just kind of, if you want to review those.
No, there's
So-
way more than that. I think that would just be.
Oh, yeah, it keeps going. But, yeah, Friday is the final day for non-capital items. All the capital items, I believe, are in to Whitney, and we've got a few of them. And then, at our next meeting, April 8th, we need to take a vote to approve the list of articles.
Or somebody will take a vote.
Yeah.
So, any other items you want to add on that? I always feel like that, and I would imagine all the department heads submit that basically directly from them to you guys. I always feel like, I think American Idol is on one of the next couple of nights. I always feel like that would be great BCAT programming if we had all the department heads come in and actually publicly in front of their peers present what their own warrant articles would be.
Seriously?
To me, that would be great TV, personally. So, because I know not all of them actually make it to town meeting. So,
That's correct.
yes, so that would be entertaining stuff as far as I'm concerned. Any other questions or comments on that? Yes.
The list of capital items, is that pretty much complete? We're going to be seeing that shortly, or
Yes,
still
we'll have the
fine-tuning it?
full list that's been submitted, and then the board will have to approve the warrant for Amy.
Yes.
And then at that point in time, we'll start having a discussion for you to vote on the individual items.
Do we have a number, a number for how much we're going to spend on capital items this year?
Over the past several years, on general warrant articles, we've split up between $2.8 and $3 million with the school department in various forms, 50/50, 60/40. So we're working within the same ranges of free cash spending. And just so the viewers at home know, this is, these projects will be funded from free cash, which is our surplus from previous years. So there's no impact on the current year operating budgets from this. So we've identified a similar amount of funding that we have the past several years, and then we will try to work within those constraints to sort of continue on doing what we've been doing.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Subcommittee reports. I'm a righty, Jim, so let's start on the right,
Sure thing,
please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. A revitalized audit committee met on March 12th. It's a rather large group of people. We met here at 7:30 in the morning. The meeting was led by John Denizio, our town accountant. We had representatives from Powers and Sullivan there, our auditors. They gave sort of it was more of an organizational meeting. And we laid out the roadmap for where the auditing committee is going and how we're going to proceed. Our next meeting is April 9th at 7:30 a.m. That is a public meeting, so if anybody wants to come out here at 7:30 in the morning, they're more than welcome. Again, that's April 9th in this room. Small cells subcommittee, small cell committee. Our last meeting was on February 20th. We had a few administrative issues to address and try to figure out. There were new design standards. Well, not new design standards. If a town wanted to implement design standards to their small cells, we were given a deadline of April 14th. So if a town wants to have some say on how these things are going to look, design standards have to be in place by April 14th. That being said, we've retained new counsel to assist with this process. The small cell committee will be meeting this week, this Wednesday at 5 p.m. in this room. And what we're hoping to do is to have an updated policy for the board to approve, which will include the new design standards. And everything will hopefully be incorporated into one item, so to speak. The application, the checklist, the policy, and the design standards would hopefully, we're hoping to have that as like one single packet to incorporate everything, streamline it, have everything laid out. So like I said, the deadline to have the standards in place are April 14th. My belief is the planning board plans on looking at this, potentially approving this on their at their April 4th meeting, and then the packet or the updated policy, guidelines, et cetera, would be before this board at our next meeting on April 8th for approval. So those are the two meetings before April 14th. Planning Board is April 4th, Board of Selectmen is April 8th, and hopefully have that chapter of the small cells rectified or completed. So that's it for subcommittees for me right now.
Very tedious but important work, Jim, and I have to say it's important to everybody. And not a huge surprise the way you've kind of sunk your teeth into it, because it's something that you've done
I also want to
since
thank
you've been on the board, yeah.
Planning Director Kristen Kasna. She's been tremendous in helping this process along. It's not a one-man show, trust me. It's a committee, it's a group of people, and Kristen has been right there every step of the way. So I just want to thank Kristen for her help with this.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to say the same thing, to thank these guys for all the work they've done to get out ahead of this. The federal government put us in a real difficult spot with some really short timeframes here. And I'm actually starting to get emails from other communities saying, hey, we've heard that you guys are way out ahead of this. Can you share this with us? So that's starting now.
For a fee, we absolutely can.
Actually,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, to Paul's point, I've asked, and our attorney has also stated, we're way ahead of the curve on this. We're not the first out of the gate, but we're way ahead of the curve on this, and the inquiries are coming, not only just Massachusetts, but Arizona, California. They're all interested in how we have addressed this issue, or addressing this issue, and every municipality, trust me, is going to have to deal with this at some point, so.
And to your point, Mr. Chairman, he's doing a great job on
Yeah,
this.
yep,
Yes, he is.
not a surprise. Anything else, Jim?
So that's it.
Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to remind folks at home that Saturday, April 6th, is our annual town election. I'd like to take this opportunity to point out that we have, in addition to a handful of contested races, we also have a ballot question in town. We haven't seen a ballot question in this community in quite a few years. I want to reiterate how easy it is for folks to vote in our elections here in Burlington. It's a central location. Everybody votes at the Burlington High School. It'd take about 20 minutes out of your day to actually go through the entire process. We historically don't do very well in local elections, and I'd like to hopefully improve on those numbers. And I want to thank all of the candidates, whether contested race or not, for participating in the process. And I wish everyone well on Saturday, April 6th.
Absentee as well.
Absentee currently underway as well. Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Just to add to Michael's comment, I want to remind people that the ballot question that is on the ballot is actually on the back side of the ballot. So and the poll workers are going to remind people of that. But you're going to have to turn it over in order to vote for the question. And the town meeting votes are on the back of that also. So just want to remind people to pay a little attention to that. Thank you.
Joseph?
I have just one thing, and then I have something in old business. Betty, remind me the dates, Mr. Clancy's retirement?
Good call.
Right here.
March 31st,
March 31st. Is
3
that
to
the
7.
Cafe Escadrille?
Yes.
And the price to get in is
$25, tickets are being sold at the Selectmen's
at
office.
the Selectmen's office.
That's
I
a
just wanted to
Sunday.
put that out there for everybody that would like to attend that, considering the fantastic job Mr. Clancy did for this town. We come by and say officially goodbye to him, or secondly officially, whatever you want to put it. That's all I have for that.
Please call the office if you want us to hold a spot for you. You can buy your ticket at the door.
So should I call, or should I just tell you now?
Do either.
I need to.
Joe, let's jump right into the old business and the new
Okay,
business.
old
yeah.
business. Guys, this is kind of a little bit tough to go across, but I'm going to bring it up. We put on 2 appointments tonight for the fire department. We have an issue going on with our fire department We know what it is. I don't know what I can say and what I can't say about this. I would like to stop putting on firemen until this is decided and finished and over with. Until we come up with a, can I use that word, contract? I don't know if I can or not, but I just did. So anyway, that's what I would like to do. We're putting on guys, we lost 4 guys. There's a bunch of guys coming up for retirement that I know about over the next couple of years. I'd like to have something in place. We don't know who we're paying what to, what they want. Well, we know what they want, but anyway, the bottom line is I would like to stop any further appointments to the fire department until this thing's settled. That's my opinion. I don't know if you guys, we need to discuss it in a subcommittee or how it works, but that's where I am with this.
So I'm open to having a conversation about it, Joe. I think respectfully, I think we probably wouldn't take a position on that this evening.
Nope.
But it's your right to bring that up as an issue, and it's our duty to discuss it. If anybody would like to add to that, we can. If anybody would like to agree and suggest that we meet an executive session about that, we can do that. There's a number of ways we can go tonight, but I hear what you're saying. I think we all hear it. Does anybody want to?
Could we get confirmation that that's one of those issues that we can do an executive session about? Because I know there are some things you can and some you can't.
To discuss the status of collective bargaining agreements, that can be done in executive session, yes.
Okay. Joe, anything to add to that?
No, I think that I've said enough for one night. I know we're going to be looking for a chief shortly.
Yeah.
I hope that we're looking outside the department at this point. Not to say that anybody in the department's not capable of doing the job, but I would like to get the best chief possible for the position, the same way we did in another department in this town. So that's my other little piece to this.
So that's kind of old business and new business at the same time. Okay. So thanks for that.
Thing is, I was on a roll, I might as well go with it.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just expound on what Joe's talking about. You might recall, late December, I voiced my displeasure with the pace at which this paramedic program has been proceeding. This board approved a program to get paramedics in place here at the Burlington Fire Department. In 2016, we started this. We've been at this now for over 2 years. I am committed to bringing paramedic program to this community. The residents of Burlington deserve that level of service. And if we have to take a different approach to how we get there, I'm not adverse to that. You know, I've been with the department for 30 years myself, and Joe just alluded to the fact that in my 30 years, no one has ever left the Burlington Fire Department to go to work for another department. We've lost 4 guys in the last 12 months who are leaving Burlington to go elsewhere. To me, that's very telling. It's very expensive for us to hire these guys, put them through the academy, outfit them in firefighter gear and so forth. And then they leave a short time, you know, after they're with us. So that's indicative to me that we have an issue there, and I think we need to address it exponentially. And I would look forward to further discussions with the board as to how we're going to address this issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Paul, I'm going to save the chairman's report for the end, and I'm going to ask if you have anything for the town administrator's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A lot of it was covered already, thanks to the small cell committee, Mr. Clancy's retirement party, voting. I'd also like to add on to what Mike said. I know that the turnouts are off the charts for a presidential election, but not quite so good on our local election. And I like to think of it as these folks in this room and our town meeting members certainly would have much more of an impact on a resident's day-to-day life than perhaps the president may. Just my humble opinion from working here. So we would love to see a great turnout for the town election, and absentee ballots are available if you can't make it to vote that day. And the last thing I had on here, Mr. Chairman, is I know that the board received an email about the ribbon cutting up at Northeastern for their collaboration with the military. That is on April 8th, and I can RSVP. I've heard from several of you already. If anyone will wish to attend that, 9:30 a.m., Monday, April 8th, up at the Northeastern campus. So just let me know if anybody else would like to attend that.
I believe we had at least a couple of folks say that they could attend that.
I'm working on
Yeah,
changes.
okay.
Yes, it's a Monday, Mr. Chairman. I can
It's a Monday.
attend that, yeah.
Excellent. So, my last night with the gavel. I'm going to try to get through this. This is my last meeting as chairman of this board, for now and potentially forever. I want to thank you guys. I took it as a privilege when you elected me to be the chairman of this board. You've had patience during my mistakes over the last couple of years, and you've indulged me, and you've laughed at many of my attempts at levity, some good, some bad. And I am seriously grateful to be part of this team, proud of the work that we've accomplished. Never apathetic, this group, which I think is probably the worst thing somebody could potentially be in this role, is apathetic. And I've never, in 2 years, certainly not even in the 6 years that I've been on this board, have I seen anybody kind of mail it in and not take this responsibility seriously. So I appreciate that. I appreciate being part of that. And I thank you for your patience and your support and the work that you've done. So unless somebody has something else to bring up, I would ask if somebody has a motion to.
No, we're going to sit here and.
No, we're just going to watch.
Yeah,
Savor that.
yeah. We've had some short meetings and some long meetings that I've sat here for, so.
They ordered pizza, so we're going to be here a
Yeah,
while.
and many in between.
Vegan,
So,
actually.
Yeah, vegan.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Thank
I'll
you.
second it.
So motion by Mike, second by Jim. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.